Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast Trying to Fit In. I am your host, Alcine Gross, owner of AlcineXtreme Fitness, and I'm so excited today because I have again one of my clients, Melia. She will be our guest today, and we're going to be talking a lot about fitness and relationships today. So, Melia, welcome to the podcast. I would love for you to introduce yourself, where you're from, and how you found me.
Hello, my name is Melia and I am from North Carolina. I actually found Alcine on TikTok. I was randomly scrolling one day and she happened to come across my FYP. I reached out and here we are.
And that was what, two, almost 3 years ago now at this point, huh?
I I think so. 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, so yeah, 2 years ago, yeah.
Where
I
does
know it was
time
early
go?
2021. I know it was, like, early because I made my TikTok in 2020, you were one of the first people that,
It,
reached out.
yep. Where does time go?
Right. And how much weight did you lose while you were training with me?
Um, 227 pounds total.
Jesus. And for the people, I need for them to also know what, comorbidities you had and the medication you were able to get off of because of that massive weight loss.
Oh my goodness. I had two pill containers. I was on 6 antidepressants. I was on what was it? I think overall the course of the whole day I was taking like 100 to 120 units of Lantus for diabetes a day, and my body was just dwindling away. And now I don't take any of it. Nothing.
And your insulin levels, I remember when we first started, they were so high. Like, do you remember that number?
I don't remember exactly. I know it was in the 400s.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember 400s as well because I was like, whoa.
Yep. I know it was in the 400s, and by the time I had started, like really getting serious working with you, they were down into 160s, 180s.
Yeah,
It, I mean, they were normal.
yeah. And what do you do for a living, Malia?
I work for FEMA, so I travel travel the country, chasing storms and whatever else. But I am now actually getting ready to finish my education to be a nurse practitioner to make the differences you made for me.
Yay. And so while you were traveling the world, well, the United States, chasing storms, how hard was it for you to, keep up with your workouts and keep up with your nutrition?
It was hard because you lived out of hotels, but working with you, I developed a love that I didn't know I had. I never ever thought. I'll never forget the morning that I was in the gym at 3:30 in the morning, and I text you or Snapchat you or whatever I did to tell you like it's 3:30 in the morning and I am in the gym. So it was hard. It's hard to maintain. It's hard to balance. But when you develop a love for it, then you just figure it out. You're not going to go a day without it because the difference in the way you felt, and then the difference in the way that it helps your body. I mean, I went from blood sugars in the 400s to blood sugars in the hundreds with no medicine. So
Right.
it changes you.
And what would you say helped you stay on track with your nutrition?
You.
Well, yeah. Yeah. But,
um
like, I remember there was one thing specifically that you were doing that I was really proud of, your meal
um a
plan.
lot of a lot of it came down to keeping track. um the app, the making myself document what I ate, because then you're like, that little piece of chocolate is not worth it if you know that you have to access all that energy to write it down.
Right,
It's all of a sudden that chocolate just doesn't taste as good.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And I know that, like, you're one of my, and I don't wanna say favorite clients because everybody's my favorite, but you're one of my special clients because not only were you trying to fit your fitness and with your very, unstable life with living out of hotels and traveling so much and, you know, with the storms and emergency calls and I mean, you moved at one point because weren't you like you were in was it Ohio or Idaho? It was one of those O's right?
So I went from Iowa to California.
Iowa. Oh, okay.
Yep, yep. That's where it all started. And then I went to California for the wildfires.
Right.
And then that's when I moved to Texas for a little bit. And then from Texas was Mississippi, Florida, and now I'm in North Carolina.
Right. So yeah, like with all of that and then, just fitting that in and then, just doing work, trying to fit the workouts in, keep your nutrition up, love, how did you do it? Like, how did you do it?
I don't know. I I really don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to the drive. It's a mindset. Weight loss is, I mean, yeah, it's hard on your physical body, but it all comes down to it's a mindset. You have to want it, whether it's love, relationships, a new body, a new job. You have to want it. And when you set that mindset, then doing it is the easy part.
I love that. Because one thing that I noticed that you did not say was, I had to find motivation. You know how I
Yeah.
feel about that word motivation. I
It's
love
not
that you're
real.
letting people know that it was a mindset. It was a conscious choice that you made that I'm
Mm,
going to get up at 3:30 in the morning. I'm going to make sure I don't miss my workouts. I'm going to meal prep when I'm able. I'm going to make healthy choices when I can. And I
yeah.
think that is the reason why you were so successful and why you're now in a healthier place in life, you know? So I will ask this because I remember when we first met, you were dating somebody and it kinda as you started, getting all sexy and everything, it seemed like he started getting a little jealous, you know?
Men.
Right. Right.
Men.
Men.
They, but that's how you know that that's not your person. When you have your person, then because it wasn't even necessarily a physical thing that I was striving for. 400 blood sugars are going to kill you.
Right.
End of story. You're going to
Right.
die.
Right.
So I took it as a lesson learned that if you can't support me on my journey, when my journey was I want to live a long, happy life. I want to be a mom. I want to do these things. And it's not going to happen unless I fix me. And
Right.
unless I fix me internally, you know, the physical looks just came along with it. You would see yourself in the mirror and you would start to feel better. The selfies would become more frequent. But my ultimate goal was it was time to be healthy. I was in the hospital having heart palpitations and I weighed 422 pounds. It's just what it was. I couldn't fit in a booth. A car seatbelt wouldn't go around me. So for somebody that wasn't going to support the fact that I can't wear a seatbelt and it's time to fix it, then it's time to go. And that's just I took the past 3 years and I learned how to love me. And that was the one thing that when you switch your mindset that this is something that you want, you learn how to love yourself. And then when you learn how to love yourself, the people around you, I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of family. But when you learn how to love yourself, then your standards with everybody else change.
Oh, yes. Girl, yes, preach. Ye yes. Growth is amazing. It's amazing.
I and it when you're growing, when you're personally growing, that becomes okay.
Yeah.
It becomes okay. I mean,
You don't
I
feel
didn't
it as a loss anymore. It's not a loss.
no, no, because you have you. And if those people got to go for me to have me, then they got to go. End of story.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I completely agree. One thing that I realized, and this is something that you and I both can relate to, and we've had many conversations, during our time training together, about the people that we cared about. Because even though, yes, we're building our health and even our self esteem, we still have some insecurities. And so when we open our hearts to someone and they break that trust with us and trigger us with something that we're not completely healed from, that could be very detrimental in your journey. And I remember at one point in our training where that happened to you where you kind of you shut down on me and I'm chasing you and like, where are you, girl? Where are you? Where are my selfies? Because oh my gosh, I have to say this for the listeners. Melia is the selfie queen. I got so many pictures from her. I mean, when I tell you she
Those
sent me,
side by sides.
I mean, not just side by side. I'm talking about, oh, Alcine, I know this is inappropriate, but you gotta see this.
I've sent you so
I
many of
have
those.
seen every angle of this woman's body.
But that is the one thing that I have to say about training with you, because I've had other trainers and they always made me feel like they were there for the check. And never ever once did you make me feel like the money was the important part of my training. And the friendship, I remember seeing a TikTok that you made about train with me and you develop a lifelong friend. And I think about that TikTok a lot because a lot of people advertise just to advertise, but I don't ever see any of your, I don't want to call it advertising, but it's your advertising. I don't look at it as advertising because everything you promised me 2.5 years ago has been exactly what it is. And then at the end of the day, I mean, I have a lifelong friend. I would
Yes.
never text somebody and be like, I have to send you this because look at what happened. Look at what your workouts did for me. And we're still, even now, it's you just you made a promise you'll have a lifelong friend. And when we think about the addiction that I had to the scale,
Oh, girl.
you were more my friend through trying to break that than you were my trainer.
Yes.
And I mean, you were still upholding the trainer responsibilities, but you were my friend. And I think about those things. So I am going to say that, that like when people are looking for trainers and looking for people to help them, it's not, I don't know. Alcine is just different. Alcine is everything you promised me I got, plus some. You became one of my best friends. And I remember that TikTok that said, if you train with me, you'll have a lifelong friend. And look at
Well,
us
it's
now.
important to me. Like as you know, I've you know struggled with weight as well. And I noticed that I got better results from the people that actually genuinely cared about me. I'm very fortunate that my two favorite coaches that I've had in my life, I'm still, very close to. Like my powerlifting coach, like he wasn't just my coach. He wasn't just getting me stronger. He was also my Christian granddad. Like
Mhm.
when I was going through the whole thing where I was fired from the Y, like he wasn't like, oh, girl, you should have done this, this, and this. No, he's sending me scriptures. He's telling me to get in my Bible. He's telling me to pray. He invited
Yep.
me to, his church. He bought my son his first kid's Bible. He was inviting me to church events all the time, and I realized, like, with him, especially, like, yes, he was my coach. And yes, when we trained, he kicked my butt. Like,
Mm.
I remember there was one time, oh, we had to do a weigh in because with powerlifting, they have to weigh you in for the class of that
Right.
you're gonna be. And I was so excited to weigh in because I'm like, I've been killing it. I've been killing it. I was ready to get on that scale. I was like, I already know. I was like, I know I'm like down 10 pounds. Like, I already know it. I get on there, I'm down 3 pounds. And I am livid because I'm like, what
Isn't
happened?
that
And
the
so he just looks, he didn't say anything. Okay. He just looks at the scale, he just writes down the number, and I just burst into tears. Because I'm like, I know that I was gonna make that goal. And he just looked at me, and because he doesn't do tears. Like most men, like when you start crying, they just kind of like really uncomfortable. And from that day forward, he never weighed me again because I broke down like that. He never
uh-huh.
like he never weighed me again because he didn't want to go through that again. And it taught me something, like, I mean, because I wanted him to weigh me, like I need to be like, this is competition. I have to be weighed, like it's not about how I look, it's the weight, because I got to compete against other people in that same class for it to be fair. So I have to be weighed in. So he's like, no, I ain't weighing you. He's like, we'll just do the weigh in when we get to the competition, and it is what it is, you know? And I'm just like, oh,
Do you feel like that experience helped you understand my
oh,
addiction?
yeah, girl. Of course. Of course. And
because
that's why, with that happening, that's why I've been trying to find ways, to help. Because of course you're not the only one. I have plenty of people that are, have that scale addiction. Or I have it's two extremes. People that want to weigh themselves every 5 minutes, and the people that never want to step on the scale because they're just afraid of what it's gonna say. And it's like, I still need you to weigh in, but this person, I just need you to weigh in once a week. This person, I just need you to step on the scale at least one time so I know where I'm starting.
yep.
And
See, and that's what
so,
I remember that I mean, I was to the point I probably got on the scales 12 times a day.
oh,
I
I
mean,
know.
easily.
I remember. I made you take your scale to your friend's room and lock it in her
And we
closet.
did. And we
Yeah,
did. And do you know now I've been on it twice in 2 months?
that's bomb. I'm proud of you for
I
that. That is bomb. That's a
and,
huge
and
improvement.
it's more now because, I'm getting back into the mindset. I dug out all of the very first workouts. And that's the other thing, it's kind of off topic, but that's the other thing that you taught me, that I would miss a workout and I would beat myself up. I failed, I failed, I failed. And you would always tell me that until you quit, you don't fail.
Exactly.
And it's okay to have a bad day. It's
Yep.
okay to eat a taco, but you have to
Yep.
remember tomorrow that you ate a taco today,
Right.
and that went for the scales, the same thing that I would take them to Brendy's, and I would get it back, to weigh for the Sunday or whatever. And that Sunday, it gradually went down. I might go from 12 times to 9 times, and eventually I broke the addiction, but it was almost a sick addiction. When you weigh yourself and then you go to the bathroom and you weigh yourself again to see how much you lost is an obsessive sickness.
Well,
And
see,
that's
a lot of people don't understand what they're actually looking at. And this is why, for me as the trainer, like that's why I like when I have people that have, the two extremes when it comes to the scale, like they're not educated on the scale. Like I know what I'm
yep,
looking for. When you weigh yourself, when you're just stepping on the scale to see what that weight says, there's a lot of things that are happening that's taking into, account. It's not just weighing just your body. It's weighing the fat mass. It's weighing the lean muscle mass. It's weighing the water weight that you have on you. So that fluctuation. So like if I told you, Malia, weigh yourself today and then weigh yourself tomorrow, and you have a 3 pound fluctuation, that doesn't mean that you just went and ate and pigged out all day long. No, more than likely you're retaining water because maybe you had a little bit more carbs than you did the day before. Or maybe you're on your cycle. And these are things that I can decipher, and that's why I don't like when my clients, gets beat themselves up because it's like, no, no, there is no way possible that you could gain 3 pounds in one day, like of weight, of fat. There's no way. There's no way you could gain 3 pounds of muscle in one day. It's not happening. You know, but it's again, it's just a lack of education when it comes to that. And I've noticed that the more that I'm able to, get through and educate certain clients, it does help. But lately, I don't know if you saw, I posted that now I'm a blind weight partner. And
I
this is
saw.
like, oh, this is the newest, greatest thing ever. And for those who don't know what blind weight scale is, it's a scale that doesn't allow you to see your weight, but you'll give you a code and I will know what your weight is. So you can still weigh in and you won't see what the weight says. And the cool thing is the scale is not super expensive, and I'm offering it for my clients where they can either purchase it or they can rent the scale while they're training with me, but that's, I don't want to go too far into that, but just wanted to bring that up because yeah, like that is now my thing for my people that are addicted to the scale. I like, or the ones like I said that don't want to weigh in at all. Now they don't have to weigh in, they don't have to see anything, they don't have to, feel defeated by the scale. They can now just do what they need to do and keep focusing and stay consistent, and I'll monitor. And then that way, if I need to make any adjustments, they don't need to know why I'm making the adjustment you know
Right,
like
right.
it's just they just can focus on the goals, and I think that's really really important you
It
know
is. Yep, yep. I
yeah,
well, and it goes back to a mindset.
yeah,
You
exactly,
know,
mine.
even the people that struggle with, you were talking about there's two different types of people that struggle with the scales. You know, I can speak for myself. That I was the one that was addicted, that got on too many times, and it messes with your mind.
Yeah,
I mean, all of it comes down to your mindset. The scales, the working out, the losing the weight, the gaining the weight, the love, the relationships. It all comes down to where's your mindset. If your
Right.
mindset is not there, it's not going to be there.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, another thing too, like, with in regards to your journey, like depression and anxiety. That's
Oh my
something
God.
again you and I both related on a lot.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, fortunately, you had somebody that was a little further along in their journey of dealing with depression and anxiety to help you,
Hmm.
but what do you feel like during that time was the worst part for you? Like with the depression, like what was the main source of your depression?
Hating me. I was coming out of a 8-year domestic relationship. Um, and when you're with a narcissist, an alcoholic narcissist at that, you their whole motive, their whole high is to beat you down.
Yeah.
And if you've never been in that situation, you can't understand, because people will say, well, if that person's talking to you like that, then leave. If that person's beating you, then leave.
Right.
But by the time you process what's going on, because everybody jokes, everybody, makes joking comments. And a
Yeah.
narcissist is a professional at, you know, appearing like their comments are jokes
Yeah.
until it has gone on for so long that they don't realize their jokes have had an effect on you.
Yeah, they have
And then
weight
when
on.
and then when they see how much of an effect they have, then that's where they get off. That's where they have their energy is beating you down. And in the relationship, I was compared to other women. I was, all of this. So I in turn blame me, because you always think we want to be the best for our men. We want to, you know, look good, feel good, act good. That's just a woman's nature. And so the depression that I dealt with was feeling like I wasn't a woman, feeling like I wasn't good enough, because if I was, all these things wouldn't be happening. I wouldn't have came out of ICU with a busted face, and I wouldn't have gone through all these things if I was a good enough woman. And that was the mindset that I had. And that's actually what intrigued me to reach out to you, because I'm a suicide survivor twice. And I knew if I didn't find some sort of something, it wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to make it,
Right.
and um I have a scar on my wrist now that I actually have a tattoo from my mom that says I'll love you forever. And it covers the scar from when I tried to take my life. And on the other one, I have a tattoo from my dad that says strong.
Yeah.
And it's just that's really where it all stemmed from. It all stemmed from feeling like I wasn't worthy. And and people's worthiness will come from, and that's the other thing that the weight loss has taught me, that you can't define my worthiness. Tom and Harry on the road can't define my worthiness. It is up to me to define my worthiness, and a person is going to do to me what I allow them to do to me.
That ooh, girl.
And
That
if
one.
if I had that strength 10 years ago, I wouldn't have gone through half of what I went through. But
We teach people how to treat us.
yep,
That is the biggest lesson I've learned over the last 5 years, whether it's in a relationship, a friendship, a work, relationship.
yep,
You teach people how to treat you by not having strong boundaries.
yep,
We want to negotiate for their happiness and we forget about our happiness.
yep.
While
Well,
they're
that's
getting the
like,
life they want and everything they want, we're over here miserable, feeling like we're not adequate enough because we feel like, okay, we checked every single checkbox that they gave us. And they're just going to keep taking because we have opened the doors for them to just shop at will.
yep.
I'm sorry.
Well, and that kind of goes into, the whole topic of boundaries, too,
Yes.
that you don't you don't let somebody define your own worthiness. And we're all guilty of it. We've all done it. We've all
Yeah.
had that relationship
Oh, yeah.
that's just what you do. But
Right.
if you don't set those boundaries either, that in any sort of relationship, whether it's a mom and a daughter, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, a husband and a wife, if you don't establish the boundaries of what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, then you're going to be taken for those boundaries. And then those boundaries lead to mental games again, because, okay, so you use social media for an example. If you set a boundary that I'm not going to tolerate you commenting on other women's social media, but those boundaries are crossed, then your mental state goes to why? Why? And if you're that type of person that you want to be the best, you want to, and I don't mean the best as in, a competition kind of best, but you want to be the best for yourself, that stuff will play a mental head game on you. And so
Oh
if you
yeah,
don't establish,
because you want to know why, like, why don't you care or respect about my feelings enough to respect the thing that I asked you to do? It's one thing. I'm just asking you not, I'm not saying you can't look at them. You can scroll. Like, I
right,
mean, that's what social media is for. Why can't you just scroll, look? Why do you have to, disrespect me, our relationship, by putting the hard eyes and, the inappropriate comments that makes you appear as if you're single and that you don't have a whole person over here,
yep.
you know?
Well, and then it comes back to the image too. If there's anything that I have learned through this, that they say never judge a book by its cover, but image is important. And when
Yeah,
you're, and I don't mean physical image, I mean image, the mental image. And if you're in a relationship, it is supposed to be you two against the world.
right.
So if you don't establish those boundaries, that this is what I expect and this is what I'm going to tolerate, then I mean, it's like a kid. If you tell a child you can have one piece of candy, if you don't emphasize to them that they can have one piece of candy, then they're going to eat 12. Why wouldn't you? I would. I did, you know, but
Yeah,
you
let it
set
be them
that
little
down,
Reese's Pieces things. Yep, I'm over it.
man. You set that line that I said you can have one piece. And then that's when they know the boundary is one piece of candy. It's the same thing as being an adult. I'm going to tolerate this and I'm not going to tolerate this. And it's okay to have to explain why or why not. And then you go into the topic of in relationships too, that well, your past is coming into our relationship. But a right or wrong, to a point it's supposed to, because my past made me who I am now.
Well, the past is why you have the boundary in the first place. And something else too, a lot of people will say, your triggers are your responsibility, which is true. I do 100% agree that you are responsible for your own triggers, and if something is triggering you, that means that obviously you haven't completely healed from that. Nobody's perfect though. I'll acknowledge things that trigger me. You know what I mean? Like, cause like, for example, a trigger for me is when someone doesn't communicate with me. Like, let's say they're mad at me and they don't tell me they're mad at me, but I know they're mad, but they won't
Yep.
talk to me about why they're mad. Like, that is a huge trigger for me,
Yep.
because
Yep.
it's like, well, how am I supposed to fix it? Or how am I supposed to know what I did, what was, did wrong if you're not going to tell me what I did? So, but what I've learned though, for myself anyway, with that specific trigger now, I haven't got them all solved, but at least with this one, is, I will express to that person that I genuinely care enough that I would like for you to communicate with me at your time when you're ready. I would like for us to talk about this, because at the end of the day, it does have to be talked about. It does need to be brought up. Otherwise, it's going to keep on happening. Because, like, let's say it was something as simple as, oh, because I'm notorious for this. When we're talking, you dominate the conversation. You know, okay,
Yep.
well, tell me when I'm doing it because half the time I don't even realize I'm doing it. Tell me enough and I'll start to, catch on to it because
Yep.
I've learned, like, I mean, again, not perfect at it by any means, but I'm getting better where I do like, okay, sorry about that. Let me stop talking. Let me let you get it out, and I'm doing that with other people because I know if it affected this one person, it might affect the next person. But if I'm respecting that about you, you need to respect this about me, that I don't like when people shut down about me,
Yep.
or to me. Like, so we need to, compromise. We need to be in the middle here. If you don't want this to happen, then you need to tell me that it's happening.
Yep. Well, and it comes down to open communication. If you two can, because I'm the first one, I want you to tell me when I'm wrong, when I'm doing something wrong, when I'm, and that's with anybody. That's with a friend. That's with a relationship. That's with anybody. A job. I can take criticism. I want criticism because if you're not telling me anything, I'm never going to be better. And I want to be better. But in turn, I should get the same sort of respect. If you're
Well,
doing something that bothers me,
yeah. I was gonna say you can't hold people accountable for something they didn't know.
Exactly.
Like
Girl,
that is
you
a
nailed it
huge
on
pet
the
peeve of
head.
mine. That is a huge pet peeve of mine. You can't hold me accountable for something I did not know.
Mhm.
If you, for example, like let's say, I'm just gonna use, I'm gonna make up something, a parking spot, right? Let's say you're at work and there's a specific parking spot that one person parks in all the time, and it's your first day there, and you park in that parking spot, and they come in and they start yelling at you like, "That's my parking spot," and blah blah. Well, how was I supposed to know that? I'm new.
Yep.
Like, you could have handled this completely differently. You could have introduced yourself like, "Hey, my name is Jan. Welcome to the company. I know that you're new here. You probably didn't know that, we kind of have like assigned but unassigned parking spots, and the parking spot you use today is usually the one I park at." I'm like, "Oh, my bad. Okay, I'll make sure tomorrow I don't park there." Simple.
Yep. Yep.
Now there's no, immediate, tension in the office. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yep.
no, "Oh, I don't like that woman. It's my first day and I don't like her," or the vice versa. The other lady with that was their parking spot, they're, getting mad about that. But that happens, and like especially when you're starting a new relationship. You know, yes, we all have baggage. I
Yep.
don't care who you are. If you've been in a relationship, you got baggage. Like,
Yep.
you got baggage. Like, the only way you don't have baggage is if you've never been in a relationship. Everybody has something from a previous relationship that they probably healed from or haven't healed from. But it could still, even if you're healed, you could still be triggered. Like, okay, you know what? That was a red flag in my last relationship. I'm gonna note that. I'm gonna file that. You know,
Well,
like,
and it comes down to though, like, I'm speaking from, as an example, coming from 8 years of domestic violence.
right.
His trigger was alcohol. So I have healed from the things that I went through, but I will never again be around a violent alcoholic man.
Right.
Never. And it's not because I'm unhealed, it's because I'm never going to go through that again.
You already know the end of that story. You know what's gonna
Right.
happen.
Right.
So
And I
let me
think
ask
that's
you
where
this, because you said, you'll never be around a violent alcoholic man, but does somebody drinking alcohol, does that bother you?
um it did in the beginning, but
Okay.
it was only men.
Okay.
And I think that's because I never had a bad experience with a woman. I mean, we get mouthy. I mean, there's violent women out there. I'm not saying that, but we just get mouthy. And I guess
Unfortunately.
my trauma came from a man. So when you think about what you don't want to go back to, I couldn't be around a man drinking for probably the first year and a half, 2 years. And they might not even be drunk. They might not even be an alcoholic. They could have literally just been having a beer because they had a long day. And I could not be around them. And it wasn't, it's a lot of the same now that when I get around men drinking, my guard goes up.
Yeah.
And
Does
and it's not, I think that's where people confuse as far as being healed and just knowing what you're not going to do anymore.
right.
Because I did do that and look at where I got doing that. So it's more a lesson learned that
Right.
these kind of people have this tendency. So I'm not going to be around these kind of people because I'm not going to take a chance of going through that tendency again. So there's a difference between being healed, unhealed, and it just being a lesson learned. And I think that's where it causes a lot of problems in relationships too, because they'll say, "Oh, you can't be around me because of what somebody else did." Well, I learned my lesson with that person, so I'm not going to go through it again with you.
Well, I was gonna say too, like, you have now a preference. So maybe it's
That
not a
too.
heal unhealed. Now you've developed a new preference, because people could have a preference on the type of people they want to date. Like, a girl could want tall guy, muscular guy, big guy, men could want the thick girl, skinny girl. So now the preference for you is, I just don't want someone who's violently, a violent drunk. For me, my preference is, I don't want to date guys that have multiple kids with different women. And that's because
The baby mama drama.
lesson learned. And I'm not saying all baby mamas are bad. Hell, technically, I'm a baby mama.
Right.
The only difference between, me and other baby mamas is, I don't talk to my son's father at all. We have zero contact and no relationship. We haven't spoke to each other since I was 4 months pregnant. So his girls don't have to worry about me because we don't have a relationship. He doesn't have a relationship with my son. But for the ones that are, like and I, if my ex happens to listen to this podcast, it is what it is. But like with him, yes, he had two. One was actually really nice. One of his baby moms, I'm actually still friends with to this day. She was a sweetheart. The other one, though, I'm sorry. If she was on fire and, I had
You
water
would throw some
and I
gasoline.
was thirsty, I mean, I would still save her because I'm not that person, but I would hesitate.
Yep.
I would see how
No,
bad
I
she's
get
hurt
it.
before I save her. Like I don't want her to die, but maybe burn the weave up a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Like
horrible.
just know that I had your life in my hands,
Uh-huh. Yep.
because
You needed
she
me.
really made my life hell,
Hmm.
and I went into that relationship hoping that me and her could be not even friends, but at least cordial enough that I care about your kids. And I want you to respect that I care about your kids. Like, you don't have to like me. I understand you don't like me because of whatever happened between you and my ex. I understand that. But understand, I'm coming into this innocent. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to harm you. And I'm definitely not here to harm these babies. But she
Well,
couldn't get past her own jealousy, her own vindictiveness, her own pettiness, that she was so like, for someone to have as many kids as she had, I don't know where she found the time to create the drama that she created. Like, get a job, read a book, educate yourself. Like, why are you, making fake Facebook pages and fake Instagram pages to find out what's going on in my life? And what's going on between me and your baby dad. Like, it's none of your business. The
right.
only thing that you need to know is how I treat your children. If I
Yep.
have done anything to harm your children, trust me, first of all, your kids are going to tell you, and you need to trust the father enough to know that if I were to disrespect the children, that he would kick me to the curb, you
Exactly.
know, like
Exactly.
you got to be like that. So now, going into my, my current relationship, like I changed my whole mindset. Like he has, he does have one child. I have no desire to get to know the mother, you know,
Well,
I have no desire, and that's my personal opinion. Now, I have friends that disagree with me on that, but I have no desire. Like, will I be cordial when I see her? Of course. I will never disrespect her, you know, but I have no desire to do what I did in the past relationship. For me, I don't need to talk to you. We don't need to discuss any. I don't need to talk to you. I'm talking to the father of the kid because, in my eyes, he has the same amount of rights to that child that you do. You're both
yep.
taking care of that child. I don't need to go through you for the child. I can ask him. So
Exactly.
we don't need to have a relationship. I mean, of course, yes, if I see you, I'm going to respect you. Like, I'm not going to be just turning my nose up at you, but respect me as well, you know?
Well, because at the end of the day, the one common factor is the child.
Right.
But this is going to come out in the wrong words, but the safety of the child is up to the father. If the father trusts you to be around his child, then that mother needs to trust that father. If that mother doesn't trust that father, that father will not put that child in harm's ways, then there's other underlying issues between them that are not your problem or your concern.
Exactly. And if you really feel that way, then you know what you need to do with the courts. Because I mean,
Yep.
let's be honest, like the mother's out there, possibly dating as well. You're bringing men around your child too. The father has to trust you that the people that you bring around the child as well is not going to be somebody that's going to harm the child as well. So you
Yep.
need to have that same respect, but yeah, like, I realize like that is a sore topic for me when it comes to that. Like I don't want to deal with it. And like I said, I have my friends, I've talked to them about it and told them like how I felt about, going into my new relationship and not dealing with that, and some of them don't agree with me. They're like, Alcine, at the end of the day, that's still the mom. Yeah, she is. I'm not taking that from her. But
Right.
I don't need to talk to her. Like I don't have to. Because there's a lot of mothers out there like, oh, I need to know who you're dating. I need to meet her. Like, I don't need your validation. I don't need your approval.
Yep.
And that again, that's my personal opinion. That is my
No, but
personal.
I think I really agree with you though, because at the end of the day, I always grew up, my mom always told, because I come from a split home, but my
Right.
mom always said, You have one mom and one dad. And
Right.
at the end of the day, no matter who gets in another relationship, the one mom and the one dad have the responsibility of that child. I
That's
mean,
it.
you're blessed if the mom or the dad finds somebody else and they love the child and whatever else. But at the end of the day, the child is the one mom and one dad. And that mom has to trust that dad, that that dad would protect his child,
Right.
vice versa. That dad has to trust that mom, that that mom would protect this child. And if they can't do that, or they have their own, then that's not going to define your relationship with that man.
Right.
The rest of it is just messy drama, messy,
And
unnecessary.
at the end of the day, it's like, what's the end game?
Right.
Because that was a question I always had, in my past relationship, like with, that particular person. What's your end game? You're causing all this drama. You're trying to get your kids to hate me. You're trying to get him to hate me. You're trying to, you're doing all this stuff, getting all these other extra people involved. What is your end game? Because at the end of the day, if he wanted to be back with you, I would have never been a factor.
Right. Well,
So, what is your end game in this drama? You want to like, oh, if I can't have him, nobody can have him. I'm going to use our kid as a weapon. Like, what is your end game? Because at the end of the day, what you're going to do is you're going to make that person, and I mean, honestly, this is both sides. It's not just the mother. I don't want to put it like all on baby moms because baby dads are just as bad.
right.
Some of them are even worse. You know what I'm saying? So we'll just call them the baby parent, for the sake of argument, because I don't want it to be like one sided, because it is definitely both. But it's like you're not hurting that person as bad as you think you are. You're hurting that child or children,
Yep.
because now they got to be in the middle of it and they hear you. And people don't realize your kids hear you. You may
Yep.
think they're asleep. You may think they're in the other room. You may think they're be on their tablet playing. They're listening. They're a sponge. They're hearing everything you're saying, you know? And I
Well,
know that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's crazy that you say that too, because I think it reflects me back to a situation. Like I said, I came from a split home, and
Right.
my dad and stepmom were the calm type. They didn't get into the drama. They didn't do the mess. They didn't, when they had problems, they sat down and they communicated.
Right.
My mom and stepdad, however, are my mom was a loud person. When she got mad, the whole block was going to know that she was mad at you. And
Right.
I remember being home. I think wasn't too long after we had met, and my brother was 16, 17. So even at 16, 17, his parents were fighting, and he walked around the corner and he dropped his phone, and he just stopped and turned his back and listened to his parents go at it. And as parents, I understand, we say things, we're angry, we're in the heat of the moment, but everything we're saying, you're mad at your husband, but the things that you're saying to your husband is hurting your child.
Yeah.
And
And
I
they're going to
just,
remember that. They're going to remember that feeling that they felt, like
yep,
a lot of people think, and this is something too, like when it comes to kids, like, yes, kids are spoiled, they love things, but things that they will remember for the rest of their life is how they felt. Like my
yes,
son yesterday, he asked me, and I love when he asks me questions like this. He goes, "Mommy, when you were my age, what was your favorite thing?" And I said, "You know what my favorite thing was? Was when Papa would take me on a bike ride. We would go from our house, we'd ride all the way to the Rhine River, and this is in Germany. We ride to the Rhine River, we get on a ferry boat with our bikes, go across the river. Then we had to go up this really, really, really big hill, and at the top of the hill was an ice cream parlor, and we would get ice cream."
uh, have you
And
always had the love for working out and fitness and everything that you have
no,
now?
no, mm-mm, no, not at all. I Now, was I active? Yes. I ran track. I played volleyball. I did a little bit of cheerleading. I was in gymnastics when I was a kid, but like staying fit and all that, that wasn't a priority for me. Like not at all. I think that what it pushed me into it was actually my ex-husband, and not in a positive way. Um, my ex-husband was in the military, and we were stationed, well, he was stationed in Texas. We were in North Richland Hills, so near Fort Worth. And he was a recruiter at the time. And I remember we went to this Halloween party, and I was one of the biggest wives there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to ask my ex-husband, like, if there was one thing you could change about me, what would it be? He said, your stomach. Like, I mean, and it wouldn't hesitate, your stomach. And so back then I had opted to get weight loss surgery and I got the lap band. And the lap band helped me lose 30 pounds, but I gained it right back, honestly. Because my lap band, I had a lot of like trouble with my lap band. Like it was getting to the point where I was getting too tight, where I couldn't swallow water and things like that. And so even when you have weight loss surgery, you still have to eat healthy, you still have to exercise. So I ended up
Right.
having it moved. But yeah, I started going to the gym with him. Like, I wanted to go to the gym with him. Like, maybe you can help me lose the weight. Well, he's military. He had no idea. Like, he would get mad at me. He put me on the elliptical and I couldn't last more than 10 minutes on the elliptical. Honestly, 5 minutes was hard. He wanted me to do it for 30 minutes. I couldn't stay on the elliptical. It hurt. I couldn't breathe,
Right.
and he would get mad because I couldn't do it. So we were in the 24-hour fitness in like I said, North Richland Hills, and I heard a Zumba class going on. And I looked in there and the ladies were in there just having a good time. And the instructor, her name was Eliana Ceballos. Like, she was
Oh.
beautiful, tall, lean, just the hair, you know? And she was
Uh-huh.
so energetic, And I'm looking at her and I was like, okay, I want to take a Zumba class. Well, I actually didn't end up taking her class first. I ended up taking another girl's class. Her name was Illumine. Now, Illumine, I think she was either Puerto Rican or Dominican. The one thing I remember about her was she was real thin, but she had this big old booty. And I'm like, how are you so small with this butt? And I would stare at her butt in the class. But my first class, I tripped a girl because I was going left when they were going right, and the girl fell, busted her lip. I was so embarrassed. I didn't return for 2 weeks. And so when I finally came back, I went to the back of the class. Well, then, I started getting more comfortable. I started taking Elumine's class, started taking Eliana's class, and then I started making friends within the class. So I slowly started moving up forward. I started learning the songs. Then one of the girls in the class that I became friends with, her name was Nidra. Nidra and I decided to create our own choreography for one of the classes. Like, we have a song, and I was so excited to teach this song, right? And so Eliana was like, yeah, let me see what you guys got. And that was when I realized teaching is a lot harder than doing. Because when I tell you, I was so out of breath, and I was so glad I was facing like away from them, because if they would have saw my face, they would have saw I was dying. Because I was like, oh my God, like, I'm like, okay, we're doing the moves, but I have to, I'm trying to call it out and do the, sound effects, in Zumba, all that stuff. I'm losing my voice right now, so I can't do it right now, but the whoops and all that, and I couldn't do it, because I was like, oh Jesus, let me just get through this song. And so after I got done with the song, we go back to regular class. I'm like, oh shit, I need a break. And so I talked to Eliana afterwards, and she's like, yeah, it is a lot harder. She's like, you should become a Zumba instructor though. And I said, girl, no, like, you are out of your mind. Well, she convinced me. So me and Nitro, we got our Zumba certification together. A couple weeks later, we went and got Zumba toning, which is with the weights, the little Morocco weights. We got that certification together. Then about a month later, I got a job at a gym as a substitute instructor. So I'm starting to teach now, and I was actually enjoying it. One thing Eliana told me, she's like, now you get paid to work out. And that was kind of the motivation,
Mhm.
And so then at the gym that I was working at, they had a certification for Ripped. Ripped is a boot camp style class. It's a everything. It's a one-stop body shock. You're doing strength training, cardio, core, kickboxing. It's everything in 1 hour. It's my favorite class to teach. Still to this day, still my favorite class to teach. And so when they had that certification come, the my boss at the time, her name was Ember. She's like, "Yeah, girl, you gonna sign up for it?" I'm like, I mean, I don't know what it is, but sure. So I signed up for it. I go to the certification that day, and I'm looking at the people around. These girls are ripped. Guys are just ripped. And I'm like, oh. And I see one other girl that was a Zumba instructor that I knew. So I go sit by her. All right. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I signed up for, but I don't think I'm in the right place.
Let's do this.
Right. So the master trainer, well, the creator of the program, his name was Terry Shorter. He looks around and he goes, okay, where are my boot camp people? And you see them all ripped, like, yeah, we're boot camp instructors. Woo! Like, all super loud. And I'm like, oh, scheisse. And they're like, where's my yoga instructors? And they're like, we're here, yoga. Where are my Zumba instructors? I'm like, yeah, Zumba. Woo, we're the Zumba instructors. And he's like, all right, okay, so now I know what we're kind of dealing with. And so he starts off at the class. We start the class with the class. So he actually takes us through the class. Girl, the warm up, it was like doing insanity almost. I'm like, oh
Mm.
my God, what did I do? So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm never teaching this. It's never going to happen. I ain't ever teaching this class. Fast forward, I moved to Germany. In order for me to get the job, they wanted me to teach the class. My first class I had 4 people. Second class I had 13 people. Third class I had 80 people. And I think that's where I found my love for fitness was right there because I'm the big instructor. And I had 80 women in my class because they heard about this new girl teaching this crazy class that she's suffering into and she's doing it. And that's what
Aw.
people told me. Like, if you can do it, I can do it. And
Mhm.
I would tell them in class, like, okay, we all hurting. I mean, I got sweat pouring down my face. We're doing these push-ups. I'm like, if you got to modify, I will modify with you. It's okay. And I realized that creating a safe place, for women to be able to work out and to be able to take their bodies to a level they never thought they could do. I'm talking about women that was doing push-ups on the wall. Now they're on the floor. Like I had this one girl, oh my God, like I loved her because I called her my drill sergeant because she started off struggling and then she was knocking out push-ups like they were nothing. And she was a little bit older compared to the rest of the ladies in my class. You know, it was an amazing feeling, and that's what got me into fitness. And then when I realized that I
I
could
love it.
change people's lives, just by making them feel heard, making them feel
Mhm.
seen and understood and meet them right where they are. And you don't have to look like the girl with the BBL. Nothing against girls with BBLs. You don't have to look like her. You don't have to look like Beyonce to be beautiful. You can be exactly where you are and be healthy and love you the way you are. We were made to be unique. Embrace that
Train with
uniqueness.
Alcine and you will look like you had a BBL.
That part. I will grow that booty because a butt
I
is a
have
muscle. Okay?
pictures.
And your
I have
chest, I can
pictures.
lift it, but the butt, yeah, I can grow that.
Man, I still have all my side by sides, and my boyfriend and I were actually looking the other day, like, look at what this woman did to my booty.
Booty did get nice. Got nice. It's probably why your butt ended up getting pregnant. But Malia, so we're gonna have to cut the podcast at this point. Unfortunately, like I love this. I'm gonna have to bring you back because I know
Do
we
it.
got some
I
more to
miss
talk
you.
about. But yeah, I would love for you to leave like a nice, inspiring word of the day or like a saying for people, to get them through the day. What would you say to them?
It's all about your mindset. If you want a change, you have to change your mind.
Oh, I like that. That I might have to make a
Miss
shirt
you.
with that. That was great.
Yes, do
That
it.
was great.
And
Thank
you
you,
would make you
Malia.
one too.
Thank you. Yeah, girl. Of course, I got you. I got you. Of course. Thank you, Malia. I really appreciate you, taking the time to talk with us today and be on this podcast. I'm hoping that, we get more people listening and it continues to grow and we continue to inspire and show people how we just fit life in. I
Yes.
mean, it happens. We go through so much stuff. We all have a story, but fitness, health, our mindset, as you said, working on your mind is a workout too. You got to consciously do, you got to
Mhm.
be disciplined enough to say, this is what I'm going to do today and how I'm going to feel today and how I'm going to think today. And
Right.
I'm proud of you. You did that for the last 2.5 years, despite everything. And you're strong, you're beautiful, you're amazing. And I'm happy and blessed our paths crossed.
Thank you.
All right, girl.
See you later.